Hello there, I'm Dark Shades, hailing from the east of England. Welcome to my channel, and if it's the first time you're passing through, you put the thumbs up if you like it, the thumbs down if you don't, you share if you want other people to listen to it, and you subscribe if you want to hear more of me. That's the formalities out of the way. Now I wanted to talk about sex, that taboo subject, and whether or not women withhold sex out of spite. The reason what's prompted this video is because I got a text that said that some people believe that women withhold sex out of spite rather than because they're genuinely hurt by their partner's behaviour. And some people do believe that if, especially men, if a man hurts you, whichever way it is, whether it's through infidelity, whether it's because they bust your lip, whether it's because they've stolen some money out of your purse, whether or not they've put you in debt, whether or not they don't want to do the dishes, whether or not they've, you're fed up with telling them that their stuff's on the floor and you've had a big argument, whatever it is, there is something in a woman that shuts down when a man doesn't please her anymore or when he's upset her. And men don't seem to understand that because most men, their minds rule their penis, so they can will their penis to go up or down. It's not the same with women. It's a combination of the mind and the emotion. And if a woman is hurt by a man, it doesn't mean that she's not giving him a bit out of spite. In certain cases, yes, of course women do. But in some cases, it's because the woman is genuinely hurt and just cannot see herself past it until she reaches that level of forgiveness. Now, when a man hurts you and then he comes home in the evening and you are still fuming and he says to you, "Oh, what, baby? Let me go upstairs now. Let me make you feel better, man. Let me put things right for you." He seems to think that the act of sex is going to put things right, especially if they have a good sex life. It doesn't occur to him that his behavior can actually turn out the light, the sex light. It can actually switch it off. The control panel's gone. There's a blackout. Totally dead. Doesn't understand that. Now he's going to think that that woman is being spiteful. When she shoves him off and says, "Look, leave me alone. I'm not in the mood. I don't want it." All of that. He thinks that she's being spiteful. And there are women who are. There are women who, if their partners upset them, they feed on it. And when their partners try and make love to them, they're like, "Oh no, you're not getting in it. No, no, no." And the partner might say, "Oh look, me will buy you this, and me will do this for you, and me will do that for you." And they play on it. I'm not talking about those type of women who play on it and play on sex, and especially if they're married and they know that their partner isn't the type to be promiscuous. They play on it and they withhold sex. I'm not talking about those. You have genuine people who, because they're hurt, they just literally shut down. I think a lot of men think that sex is about their performance. To a degree it is, but it's like 50-50. A lot of it's to do with the mindfulness during the sex act. What you're thinking about while you're having sex. Now, if you are totally focused on the act and you're totally enmeshed in the sensations and everything that's happening to your body, then you're going to have a good and fulfilling sexual experience. If you're thinking about, "Oh, you've got to get your hair done next week and you've got to do your nails and I've got to get my feet done and I wonder if I remembered what's on the grocery list," while he's pumping away, then you're not going to have a fulfilling experience. Fulfilling sex is about, focusing on the act. And so what I'm trying to get at is, if you have a relationship where the sex is absolutely brilliant and on point, and both parties feel it's just because of their performance and the actual act, they're going to be very disappointed if one of them is hurt. Because what they'll find is the person who is hurt, they cannot build that performance again. Not for a while, not until things are sorted out, not until the trust has been built up again, and not until there's been forgiveness. They're not going to be able to get back to that level where they enjoyed sex freely. So it's not just about the performance, it is about what the person is thinking about while they're having sex. And if they are totally immersed in the person and they love that person and they're just thinking about all different things while they're having sex with their partner, wonderful things, and thinking about the partner and thinking about the sensations and what it feels like, then yes, they're going to have good sex. Now, if that partner pees them off, they're going to be thinking about what that partner has done, and they're not going to feel, they're not going to be in that right frame of mind, and sex might actually be horrible. It might be an unpleasant experience. It might even turn them off. And they won't even believe that this is the same person that they were having sex with the week before and it was fantastic. And now they're trying to have sex with them now and it's absolutely awful. Because it's a mind thing and people don't realise it's a mind thing. Now you've got prostitutes, they couldn't give a toss whether or not they've who's having sex with them, whether they like them, whether they don't like them. It's all about the money. And you have some women who are money oriented. They'll have sex with goodness knows who, old men, fat men, goodness knows what else. Not necessarily prostitutes in the same way, but their end goal is to get something out of the relationship, and they will be able to have sex in a mercenary way. They'll be able to have an orgasm. They'll be able to do all the motions as though they are in love with that person, but it's an act. But genuine loving relationships between a spouse and between two spouses or between two partners, especially if it's a trusting and loving relationship, that can damage a relationship if that person if either person hurts the other one, because it does leave lasting scars. And whereas a woman might say, "Go on, I don't want you to touch me," and she can be really, really cold, and that man might feel hurt and not understand how the woman's psyche works. He might genuinely feel hurt about it. And it's not something, the sad thing about that, when you break a woman's heart, or you break a heartstring, as they say in Jamaica, is that it's very, very difficult to bring it back, to pull it back. And the sad, to compound that, men don't like working hard. Gone are the days where a man would pursue a woman and fight her down for what she wants, for what he wants. Nowadays it's very difficult. Men have become lethargic. They can't be bothered. And some of them won't fight for what they feel is not worth it. They might get it from somewhere else, or they could get it from somewhere else, whatever the reason is. Some men, they'll try and do it for maybe a month or two, if that. And then after that, they'll just say, count my losses. And they don't bother, hoping that things will turn around eventually. It's quite sad, really, because I don't think when men hurt women, even whether it's not really deliberate. I think sometimes they underestimate the emotions and the love that a woman gives them, because sometimes they give it to them so easily and freely, so they underestimate it. So they don't really understand how it can cause such a big rift in the relationship when he's done something wrong. And I think a lot of men, they underestimate their value in a relationship. A woman might cuss and she might moan and this and that, but she might value that individual. But because he might not know that, and he goes and does something silly or ridiculous, he's actually broken that woman's heart, and it's very difficult to get it back again. So, can sex be enjoyable with someone you don't love? Like I said, we do have people who, like nymphomaniacs, people who just love sex. You know, they can be in a relationship, they don't have to love the man, they just love sex. And so, you know, it's just like as long as they get that and can go on with him stupidness. You know those women who say, you know, you hear these songs where the woman say, you know, me not care if him there with Susan, me not there with Jane, me not care if him there with Beverly, and my man that. And that man, he can go with Tom, Dick, not Tom, Dick and Harry, but he can go with Susan and Sally and come back to her, and she wants him because she is happy with how he makes her feel. And so it doesn't really matter what he does outside as long as he comes back to her. So you have women like that who are not bothered who he's sleeping with or who he's seeing or what he's doing, or and that kind of man care. I even disappoint them because they have one objective in mind. The man is good in the sack. And as long as he's good in the sack, that's what they're happy with. And so that kind of relationship is quite unique. Well, it's not unique. It happens quite a lot of times, but there are women, that's all they want. You get women who just want booty calls. You know, they're quite happy that a man's got his wife or a man has got his woman, and they don't have to worry about all of that. As long as he comes over there, gives them a booty call and treats them nice, they ain't bothered. So it's not all about all this emotion and people being hypersensitive about their partners. And it's almost like a possessiveness. This partner is mine. And when you make that contract, whether it's a marriage contract or a verbal contract, to be faithful to each other, and that contract is broken, it's like an extreme violation. But we're dealing with humans, and we're dealing with people who sometimes they've been in a relationship for years and years. And is it reasonable to expect that those people can remain the same for all of those years, remain totally besotted by you for all of those years, remain faithful to you for all of those years? And when they do, if they are unfaithful, does it mean that you then withdraw your part of the contract, which was to love, honor, obey if you're married, and if you're just in a committed relationship, whether you just throw in the towel? You know, back in the day, I mean, infidelity was just normal. It's kind of overrated now. It's like made into a big deal. You're supposed to be with the same person forever and ever. And I mean, it's unrealistic. And I think it's an unrealistic expectation. People do it, but I don't think people should be penalised to such a degree if they are unable to do it. I think there has to be a level of understanding. If you want that relationship to work, there has to be a level of understanding and, some acceptance about human frailty and that kind of stuff. And whether or not you feel that the relationship is worth holding on to. Because sometimes a relationship without love and sex is dead. I don't care what people say. I would hate to be in a relationship where there was no love and no sex. What is the point? I mean, when you're in a relationship, that's all, those intimate moments are all there are most of the time to kind of take you away from this hellhole that most of us live in. And if you haven't got love, affection, nurturance, and you have to kind of hold on to that. Sometimes it's difficult. It's really, really difficult, but you have to try and hold on to it, especially if you're fortunate enough to find it. So, can the feelings be revived? Yes, it's a decision. It's a decision people make. They say love is a decision. Reviving feelings is a decision. Forgiveness is a decision. And it's about getting back to that place and looking at all of those things that you love about that person or you loved about that person and reviving them into the present so you can fall back in love with that person. You have relationships where people fall in love with each other and fall out of each other time and time again. And it's quite nice when you are with somebody for a while and then you realize that you love them all over again. You know, there's times when it just kind of dies or it's just complacent. And then something happens or they do something and you think, you feel all warm inside and you think, oh, I really love him. I really love her. I'm in love with them all over again. I think that's nice. So, can you go through the motions and then switch off? So I put down these questions because, you know, we have actors and we have people who actually enjoy sex. You have people who fake orgasms. You know, anything is possible. It all depends what type of person you are. Normally, people who are genuine, they find it more difficult to go through the motions. If you're a genuine person and you operate from your heart, it is hard for you to go through the motions. But they say in this world, you have to learn to play a part. They've got a book out there by Robert Greene, 48 Laws of Power. In that, it says you have to learn to play a part. You can't be oversensitive. You can't be overly compassionate. You can't take everything to heart. You'll get destroyed in this world. So you have to kind of toughen up a little bit and try to play a part for as long as you need to. Do you have to love your partner to have sex? Well, it helps if you do. You don't have to. Like I said, back in the day, it was an obligation. Wives did it as an obligation. But nowadays, it's a bit different. It has to be consensual. You have to have permission, and you can't just have sex just because she's your wife. You can have sex with her. It doesn't work that way. Wives have actually taken their husbands to court for rape because they did not consent to sex. So it's not that straightforward. It needs to be consensual. It needs to be a good understanding between both parties. So be aware that when love goes, the body could die. The feelings in the body could die. So we don't want that to happen. So the best thing to do is just love who you're with. Be appreciative. Don't take anyone for granted. Don't become complacent. Show consideration, and just love and have sex while you're in lockdown. You know they reckon that there's going to be a boost in babies during the lockdown because people ain't got nothing else to do. Anyway, that's all for now. Bye bye.